Hello everybody, welcome back to another stream. Hope you're doing well as always. So, on last night's stream, we made it through the first portion of the Rao Ruins base. We did not burn the tree, despite having defeated Ramana, because I figured we can go and get rid of the lion dancer before doing all that and progressing with Enir-Ilim for this stream. So, Queen, Matica Lover, Galaxy Dragon, Stoatboat, Dave, Elden Enthusiast, welcome back to the stream. So, at the very end of the stream, I kind of just speed ran past all this stuff. And so I'm going to go back and explore where I haven't gone yet, obviously, to get to that lion dancer, because I don't even have like the Side of Grace. So I'm kind of still going to ignore the second story. I might come back and just talk about some stuff after I defeat the golem, because it's a little bit rude to get shot by that guy, but nonetheless, the lion dancer. The Deathblight one. Hey operator, how's it going? What are you going to do with yourself after I beat the DLC boss? I'm not sure. Based off of the timing of everything, if we get it done tonight, I was potentially thinking of maybe getting like Black Myth Wukong and like diving into that. Or if I don't do that, there's a lot of lore videos to go through. Apparently, Quaylog's new video is going to keep Elden Enthusiast up at night. And yeah, I'm not entirely sure what I want to do. Maybe catch the pulse on chat and whatnot. Like maybe make a YouTube post. I probably should have done that earlier. Oh yeah. So now we finally get the introduction of the common divine bird warrior enemy. And these dudes, I talked about them briefly when we went to the Belfry portion of the area. But they were just kind of a one and done thing, whereas this dude is a little bit more common now. And we'll catch a bunch of them in Enir-Ilim as well. So, I don't remember what context this came up in, but we were talking about it last night, how the Divine Bird Warriors have like white feathers, or maybe this is on the Discord, I don't remember. They're not really red, which one might expect with things pertaining to the Crucible. So it's my opinion that while their powers are similar to the Crucible, they are still fundamentally different. And the same might be said of Spira as well. So rather than like being the Crucible itself, it's potentially something done to the Crucible to make it more potent. Uh-oh. Surprised that didn't hit me. So yeah, those things are a lot less stinky like this. And now we get our Divine Bird Feathers incantation, which will tie directly into what I was just talking about there. Bro from the moon, nice to see you again. Elden's trying to get some sleep early tonight. Are you just saying that to spite me about my comments about Quaylog's video? Alright. So the Divine Bird Feathers is a technique of the Divine Bird Warriors, the very first of all horned warriors, wielded as an incantation. Spread the arms wide like wings to release a flurry of feathers. This incantation can be cast while in motion. Hold to continue releasing feathers. The Divine Bird Warriors, and indeed this technique, are said to bear resemblance to the Golden Crucible. So this description has kind of haunted me for multiple reasons. The whole Golden Crucible thing is one part of the puzzle, but another thing which stands out to me is that the Divine Bird Warriors are described as being the very first of all horned warriors, which makes me wonder whether or not the horned folk existed substantially before their warriors did, because I mean, if you have a civilization, you typically have warriors to protect it or like do hunting. Were they just like a hunter-gatherer tribe, and then once they like beat the divine animals, then they started getting warriors because they're doing it more for sport or something like that rather than like, I don't know. That's just all heavy conjecture. So part of the reason why that bothers me is because, no, that's Florisax. Where's our boy? Oh, there he is. Because we do get the divine bird warrior bird ashes, which say that he succeeded in taming the divine bird and made it swing as his own. And then when he finally fell to the earth, he lived on as the guardian deity of the temple quarter. So this doesn't make it sound like a super prehistoric type of person, which leads me to believe that the horn scent might actually be a more recent development, relatively speaking. Like, so part of the reason why I say that is if some people believe the primordial crucible is primordial as in like existing from the beginning of time, then like these dudes aren't quite like the equivalent of anything like the ancestral shamans who like never used technology. Like they had swords, they had armor, metal, all that kind of thing, which suggests some advancement of culture. So while the Hornsent do indeed revere the Crucible for its evolutionary powers, this all kind of tends to lead me into believing that the Crucible could have potentially come later and been responsible for making the Hornsent extra Hornsent. So they might have had like dudes with tiny hordes to begin with, like the Hornsent NPC with like the Leda crew, versus the more prominent horned warriors. Those things might have been more influenced directly by the Crucible, but I don't know. It's all kind of up in the air, which I guess is a divine bird pun there. So anyway. Oh, you've been sick, Elden? You must rest tonight for work tomorrow. Understandable. You take care. And then Dylan, nice to see you again. All right, so we talked about that. Did I read this? Yeah, I did read that last night, but I must have read it when I was crafting it. Okay. Because we had the icon pop up. Wait, was there one other thing that I wanted to mention with this? So we are told that it bears resemblance to the Golden Crucible, but all other mentionings of the Crucible link it to red tinted gold. So it's odd that this kind of gold is a little bit more white, if it's gold at all, which is arguable. Hey, yes, next, how's it going? Alright. I think that's it. I feel like I'm forgetting something else that I wanted to mention right there, but c'est la vie. So you can drop down here, get a little bit of an elevator thing going on past the ruins that I ignored. Spear gravestone. So maybe I should think about that in relation to the ruins of Rao. Does that mean like the ruins themselves are essentially spirit grave, or is that just a random chunk? So the curse blade that I ran from is up there, and this is the room that I more or less skipped. It's got more depictions of the lady, and we picked up a Erdtree fragment over there by that altar type thing. Oh yeah, and so one thing that I did want to mention, although it was more in Ramina's arena, I guess I could talk about it when I get there again, but I'll probably forget. So in case if I do forget, I did notice that there's like a bunch of tombstones in the ground in the Church of the Bud, which is interesting. It makes me wonder if those were placed there after the Crusade and the culling of the people there, or if it had a graveyard in it to kind of begin with. That may or may not have been, you know, added to after the fact. Uh-oh. That seemed like too far of a fall. I think most of this stuff is just like kind of garbage, yeah. Four-toed Foulfoot. Hey Corey, nice to see you again. Why is this incantation such hot garbage? Really weakens your divine bird warrior build playthrough. Oh yeah, so that kind of reminds me, and this isn't what I was like forgetting a moment ago. So another odd thing about the divine bird warrior stuff is that it isn't what's the word? Strengthened by aspect of the Crucible incantation strengthening thing, so it doesn't get influenced by the Crucible Knight armor, which just further suggests that there's something different going on between the principles, I guess. Operator felt like these runes confused her a lot. You expected something like a mini dungeon from it? Dylan hopes some of the sorceries and incantations to continue to get some fine-tuning. Base game spells needed a few updates to become more well-rounded. Nice save on that fall, thank you. I'm not too bad as far as the torrent parkour goes, as I just, you know, continue to walk into a wall. I would have, like, really laughed if I fell down there from that. Okay. So now that we've been on a Crucible tangent, let's continue our Crucible tangent. And I should probably open this one up. Okay. Talisman of All Crucibles. A giant mass of intermingling Crucible attributes. Reduces damage taken from critical hits and headshots and improves the effectiveness of rolling and backstepping, but also increases damage taken at all times. Rumored to have sprouted upon giants, and is known as the mother of crucibles in ancient tower lore. So this is one of the biggest items, which does give me the most pause in trying to fit the crucible into the timeline, because if it sprouted on giants, that can definitely make it sound extremely ancient because of like the fire giants, but at the very least we do have this bit of ambiguity about like what exactly constitutes a giant for this description specifically, which might sound a little bit silly on the surface, but I should mention that not only do we have like the fire giants in the mountaintops, we have the things that I often refer to as Titan skeletons throughout like the Forbidden Graves, or not Forbidden Graves, the Forbidden Lands, Kaled, etc. And aside from those, we also have seeming giants of the Nox in the Eternal Cities with their giant crypt thrones. And we also kind of sort of have gigantic creatures that actually have horns on them in the Specimen Storeroom. So if the Crucible like was the first Erdtree, as in like Godfrey's Erdtree as opposed to a tree predating Marika's reign, then I don't think it would align super well with Crucible traits appearing on giants, unless there's more of a rationale to explain that like maybe because like the giants are so big or like so spiritual in nature, they just kind of grew this stuff as a result of the Erdtree's influence. But I honestly don't really like that line of thought. It just feels more of an argument for convenience sake than anything that really rings true to me. So this does make me think that there's a stronger possibility for the Crucible to predate the age of the Erdtree, which is fine, but it's annoying just because of all that stuff pertaining to Red Gold not showing up with like the Divine Bird Feathers, and the Crucible Knights like following Godfrey, and the aspect of the Crucible incantations being Erdtree aligned. Just it's bothersome. But I mean, the most common reconciliation for those discrepancies would be that the life forces of the Crucible were channeled into the Erdtree, which explains why you can use aspects of the Crucible based off of the early Erdtree faith, which kind of makes sense, but I don't know. A lot of the stuff with the Crucible Knights is just a bit weird, like that they followed Godfrey of all people, but even the oldest person doesn't know like what the hell the origin of the Crucible was. So, all right. Setting all of that aside for now, let's go back to chat. Corn says, you think the divine bird warrior headpiece strengthens it, though? Yes, it is a divine invocation incantation. Dylan gets an unreasonable amount of anxiety losing your footing in the game. It's understandable. I've had that moment happen from time to time. Corn asks, how can this be the mother of all crucibles? So I guess, yeah, I should probably bring this up. I don't really think it's that important, but maybe you guys might feel a bit differently. But, rather than being called, like, the Talisman of All Crucibles, it might be more akin to the Everything Crucible Talisman. So if you think of, like, an Everything Bagel, that might be the type of idea that's going on with this as far as the Japanese goes. Which sounds a little bit awkward, the Talisman of All Crucible, like singular. It's a little bit goofy. And Egon Targaryen, Corvanus, Jack Irish, welcome into the stream. Nah. See, I can't put these foolish ambitions to rest. I've got that flame of ambition in me, dog. Alright, so I'm going through this way kind of backwards because it's kind of easier to go this way, to be honest, than parkouring around the other stuff. And we don't have a ton out here. We've got a bunch of critters. Oh, and that's right, a couple of Inquisitors of the Hornsent. So as I was saying before on the previous stream, where we don't actually have a ton of Hornsent individuals in the Rao Ruins, which brings up questions about their relation to this location, we do have 2 lone Inquisitors looking up towards Balurat and Enir-Ilim, and of course we can see the shadow thorns peeking out over the ramparts there. Here you go. And Galaxy Dragon says, the mother of all is an expression, the largest of all or the first, maybe. Corn says, mother doesn't refer to source progenitor concept in Japanese. Let me double check. I'm pretty sure it's just everything. I don't remember if it says mother. This is called Talisman of All Crucibles. For some reason, I thought it was called, like, the mother of all crucible talismans. So I think the second part was fine. Let me double check right now. Yeah, this is fine. Or it could be like the Crucible Mother? Mother of Crucibles? Crucible Mother? I don't know if there's like a substantial difference between the two. So part of the ambiguity comes from like the no particle again. So as I kind of tend to bring up often when we get to this kind of a formation of the language in Japanese, we'll get into what I call like the attack on Titan problem. So Rutsubo means crucible right here, these first 2 characters. Then this circly guy is called the no character, which can be a possessive or can have an adjective or noun modify another noun or adjective. So this could be the Crucible Mother, or it could be the mother of Crucible or Crucibles. So it's a little bit ambiguous. I don't really think there's much of a difference between the two. And if there is, that would just only become more obvious through extra context. And that's kind of some of the gamble that you take when you do translations on a project like this, where English is a lot more definitive about its the presentation of its information, whereas Japanese is not. So sometimes that can get you in some hot water. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay, so I think that was that. Right. Yeah, I think that's good. Seems like a really big deal. Oh, damn it. I was actually going to let it show it off. It's a spiral tree hex. Oh, well, it's not too big of a deal. So yeah, we've got those two Inquisitors over there, but this just leads us back to the pillars that we just ignored. So rather than risking it all, we're just going to take the extreme safe way back. I think there might be like a garbage item over here, but I don't... Okay, not even that. I should just fast... Yeah, I should just fast travel. No problem, you're welcome. Alright, so now that we've cleared out that section, we can go fight our golem friend. Oh yeah, so maybe I didn't finish my thought about the Inquisitors. It is still a little bit ambiguous as to whether or not they were part of like the Rao civilization, or if they were just chilling over there because it's the place that's closest to like Enir-Ilim proper. Other than Belurad, I guess. I don't know. I don't have too strong opinions about it one way or the other. Whether or not the Horn Center were Rao folk or if they came later. As for now, I feel like they probably came later, but anyway. Alright, with that golem out of the way, we can go down to like the second area and explore it a little bit more freely. Not that it matters too much, it's just nice to not be jump scared by their damn arrows. Thought I could jump to that. I think I can, or maybe it was another one where I made the jump. Bro from the Moon thinks this could be confirmation that this was the birth of the Crucible. With the Rao folk? Maybe. Is that another dog? Yeah. I don't know why there's spectral dogs, but like not ghosts of other enemy types. Oh yeah, so before doing that, let's actually go over here, because I think there's an unimportant item over here. Maybe I should follow the jackalope type things. Aha. Spirit calculus. Okay. That's just a little bit of a good lore thing, but we've already talked about the spirit calculi a little bit. Because dogs, even while dead, are evil in FromSoft games? Okay. Crash Bandicoot Fan 100, welcome on in. Would the all-life Crucible work better if it's supposed to be one of everything? Not necessarily, because there is no reference to life within the Japanese text. So I don't really think there's an issue of the localization for like that item specifically. But certainly the Crucible is often described as like being one with all life, so I definitely understand where you're coming from with that. Right. Now I guess I must have just made the leap and I was fine. Alright, so that's where we were before. I mean, not like on this stream, but I think there's an item here, just like a burrow. Yeah, so when I first came here on my playthrough of the DLC, I got jump scared by that golem so badly. Just because it was so loud, and I was like really focusing in on the details because I was trying to look at the Rowburrow. Or, no, I wasn't looking at the Rowburrow. I was looking at this like sconce. I was like, what is this? I was trying to like see if the design on it was related to anything, but instead I just got a gigantic arrow flung at me. Alright. So, we have some two standard horned warrior dudes over here next to that deity statue. But that's pretty much it for this area, because beyond it is the scorpion stuff, and I don't really want to fight these guys because you don't really get much from doing it. I guess we could potentially get parts of their armor and whatnot, but oh well. And True Connoisseur, nice to see you again. You'll have to look up the full vid recording tomorrow. If you want, you could also go back to the beginning of the stream and like try to watch it double speed, and you'll eventually catch up. It's still pretty early for tonight. Not resident. Oh, I guess it didn't come down here now that I think about it. We'll pick up the item off of the roof of that one pavilion-like thing, and then explore the rotted portion a little bit. I was like, that Divine Bird Warrior's back? I forgot I fast traveled. Is this the one that I wanted to get to? Yeah. So we saw that little treasure. Just some Shadow Realm runes. Corn thinks it's weird that the Bird Warriors were the original Divine Warriors, yet the Hornsent developed into almost solely focusing on the Divine Beast Lions. Well, maybe the Divine Beasts were more affable to being invoked by the people, and the Divine Bird Warriors seemed more capricious in nature. Which, if you're gonna let a ghost possess you, probably don't want one that will trick you into thinking you can fly, only so it could drop you and break your neck on the fall back down. Damn, that dog just juked the hell out of me. Like Zoink Scoob. Alright. So that guy's been defeated. There's no real reason to go the long way now that we've gotten the Spirit Spring unlocked. Alright, and because the Blood Fiends do drop string, that does make people believe that they were related to demi-humans. But I think it's pretty clear that they should have been Hornsent, and others disagree with me on that. And so I just strongly disagree with them in turn. But with that being said, when I saw the dudes, I thought, I also thought that these guys were demi-humans when I first saw them. Run torrent. Oh lord, he puking. I wonder how I like staggered him with that first hit. That's kind of wild. So we get some. Oh, we got a lot of sacred bloody flesh from that guy. I wonder if that's a consistent drop, or if that's just like a one-time only thing. Yeah, so there's no real reward for doing what I just did, which is half the fun of doing it. Oh, it went into my storage. That's why it's not in my inventory tab. Because I didn't remember exactly what those things do, to be honest. I know they seemed pretty decent, but... Alright. Now that we've cleared out that little area... Jack advocates for the Flame of Frenzy. Do I want to burn the world away? Vote Flame of Frenzy 2025. It's so chaotic, it's running in a non-election year. Taunga and Yorenda, nice to see you again. How do I think Miquella found out about the Shadowlands? Do you think he was alive before Mesmer went off? Well, he seemed like a bit of a nerd, like learning Golden Order incantations with his father. But I mean, he's also a demigod. So... the demigods might just be a bit more privy to like the history of the world than most people, or at least more than your average tarnished. So that's a good question, but I just don't have a good answer for it, unfortunately. So now we get a model necklace to continue some of that Crucible style talk, and we've already gotten another similar item. But anyway. A vividly covered ceremonial accoutrement worn by the horn scent. Vastly raises immunity, robustness, and focus. Horns are sublime artifacts to horn scent, and their presence confirms the belief that they are a chosen people. Only the repeated sprouting of fresh horns can create a tangled horn, which is viewed as an irrefutable symbol of primacy. So, one of the reasons why I was wondering whether or not Divine Invocation made... the horn scent into what they are is because when we look at the regal ancestor spirit, which is kind of referenced in the other two horn charms, they essentially have their antlers bud over and over by like absorbing in the spirits of those around them, like death. So I wondered if something similar was happening with the way the horn scent practiced divine invocation, allowing spirits to enter their bodies, and if that could have influenced their normal horns into budding in a similar way as the ancestral spirits. So we've already done all of this stuff over here, so I think the only thing that's left to do is just go to the boss room, really. I didn't mean that. I might have been fine if I like fully jumped. Anyway. I done goofed. Hey Joji Poji, welcome back in. He must have known Mesmer since Mesmer grew up with Radahn and was like an older brother, which he was without knowing it. I don't know if that's fair, because I think the Shadowlands should have been sealed off before Miquella and Millennia's birth. You think Miquella was visited by the Formless Mother, either while he was watering the Haley Tree with his own blood, or while he was in the cocoon, and this is what led him to the Land of Shadow. It's a little bit weird, because Ansbach makes it sound like Miquella had the Megamind play of using Moog to access the Shadowlands. So is it possible Miquella was doing his own thing first, and then got distracted by something he saw with charming Moog, and then just like dropped all of his plans and did something different? Yeah, I think that's possible. But I don't know what he was thinking for pretty much like any point of the story, which I feel is like a common criticism of like almost all of the demigods, unfortunately. How many things do I have? Oh, I should level up. Endurance or mind? I don't even know. Strength, of course. What am I thinking? Actually, I wonder how the dueling shield does against the dragon. Probably pretty decently. But also probably extremely poorly against the Deathblight form. Oh lord, he's getting me while I was reading chat. He's cheating. Hey, how's it going? It's a cautionary tale about raising a gifted ADHD kid with too much freedom. It really is, though. He's what they call twice exceptional, being ADHD and gifted. Hey, and Mercy, nice to see you again. Oh. He's cheating. I should probably heal up so that way I get full flasks. Smithing stone 7. It's also kind of weird that a lot of the Hornsent Ghost drop smithing stones. I wonder if the smithing stones are kind of like primal glintstones, where they might like house the souls of people that were like killed or something like that. Would that make smith stones like spirit graves? I don't really think that. I'm just kind of spitballing here. Because I was kind of just wondering whether or not the smithing stone that we got from that golem is like its core. But I don't know. Because we typically get smithing stones from the gravebirds too. And other golem-like things. But that could just be a coincidence because they're just rocks, essentially. Anyway. Operator thinks that in the base game that the Halig tree failed because of Mohg's intervention, but now she wonders if the project was already dead as a result of Miquella's nascence, and he pivoted to Mohg. It's a little bit unfortunate because he looks, you know, more mature, like in the Halig tree, I guess. Like he's got a much larger body in his cocoon than we're led to have believed that he had originally. Shoot, even looking at his depiction on like the back of Radahn, his cocoon form seemed larger. So I really have a lot of questions about the timing of such events, because if... Damn it, I wish I remembered what Ansbach said exactly, because it made it sound as though... Or no, it was Freya. Yeah. So Freya says she got rotted on the battlefield with like the Scarlet Rot, which implies that it was like Red Mains versus Melania and the Clean Rot Knights and whatnot. And then Miquella came up and personally healed her wound, which is when he cursed her. So if he was free up until that point, when did he go into the Halig tree, and when did he get absconded with by Mohg? And like, what was that all about? What's my favorite non-enemy wildlife in Elden Ring? Does it have to be something we've seen or no? What do I think about the geography of the Realm of Shadow and how it might fit into the Lands Between? Were they once connected, or are they separate realms to the point of lacking common borders? Well, in one of Miyazaki's interviews, he does say that the Shadowlands used to be part of the Lands Between, but it became disconnected at some point in history, which is fun. And we also do have the suppression pillar thing that the Shadowlands essentially were part of the... wait, where am I? That the Shadowlands were essentially part of the Lands Between at one point. So I kind of run with that idea. But I think when you actually look at the land masses, that they became like broken and started to split apart. And so I don't think the best way to look at either the Lands Between or the Realm of Shadow would be trying to overlay them on top of each other as they are now, but it might make more sense to try to fit them together as they were and then see what you get. Which reminds me that eventually, someday, maybe, perhaps, I will try and do just that, like adding a bunch of layers and seeing if things fit together and if that would ever make any more sense. Anyway. You don't think Miquella predicted Malenia returning to the Erdtree, infesting it with the Scarlet Rot? I never thought about it that way, to be honest. I just kind of thought that the rot might have been with it towards the beginning, but the fact that it could have been pure and then Malenia could have came back is an interesting idea. I wonder then if Miquella's original goal could have been a lot more Machiavellian, where he was going to win no matter what, as long as either Malenia or Radahn were like fully defeated. Because if Malenia was defeated, then he might be able to enact his Erdtree plan if, you know, it wasn't going to be rotted, and that's a big if that we don't really know anything about. And if Malenia beat Radahn, then Miquella would have gotten his consort that was promised. Do I think he chose Mohg because of his omen nature, which is tied to the Crucible? So when we're talking about all the Hornsent and Divine Invocation stuff, that might be a possibility that the Secret Right Scroll is trying to say, which this is, I don't really like it. That's Celibus's introduction. Do we not have it because we gave it to Ansplach? We might not have it, which would suck. Let me double check this stuff. All right, well, the Secret Right Scroll says something to the effect of the Lord's soul will need a Yorishiro to be attracted back to, and then like the Lord also like, oh man, let me double check. It's gonna bother me if I don't. A Lord will usher in a god's return, and the Lord's soul will require a vessel. Okay, so the vessel part is a little bit different as far as the connotation goes in Japanese. Yorishiro does mean vessel, but it also has like an alluring effect. So, damn controller. Like, a god is attracted to a lord, and as for the Lord's soul, a Yorishiro is necessary. So, going back to what I was saying with Mohg and the Hornsent and Divine Invocation, if Mohg has a bunch of horns, then Miquella might have tried to use his horns as a spiritual medium to beckon back Radahn's soul for that of his lord. So you might be kind of on the right track there. Which, that it just feels so damn convoluted that if Miquella is following the path of Marika, what kind of horns was Marika using to beckon down a divinity? And how does that relate to things like the Elden Beast and the Golden Meteor? Any wildlife canon to Elden Ring? Well, then I'd probably say like the Divine Birds, maybe. Or, yeah, because we don't technically fight them. Miquella? Oh no. Alright. Yeah, so the horns do work like antennae, and that's a bit more explicit on the horned warrior swords. But okay, speaking of the horns and all of that stuff and Divine Invocation, let's go ahead and fight our Divine Beast Dancing Lion friend. Take off that thing for once. Summon the Mimic. Oh Lord, he see me. Wow, it really was one hit. I didn't think that was going to hit me. I was planning to jump off of Torrent really quickly. Oh, I shouldn't kite him towards the Mimic, because the Mimic can be death blighted. Oh, he grabbed me? Can't even see what he's doing half the time. Uh-oh. Just be safe. Oh wow, Mimic's doing work. Screw his phase transition. That's awesome. Imagine if the Divine Lion used Scarlet Rot. I feel like Deathbite's bad enough. We're gonna YOLO it. We YOLO'd a little bit too hard. I don't have my boluses on. What was I thinking? Okay. Ugh. Oh, he got grabbed. Oh no. That knocks me down? That's garbage. GG no re. Divine Beast Tornado. Goodbye, Mimic. You did some great work. Friendo. Alright, guys. So that more or less completes the Rao Ruins, because the only place left we can go is a place we've already been, the Belfry area. Which would mean that we would just have to fast travel to get out of here anyway. So that's it. No bolas, yeah. The sculpted keepers must have been waiting a lifetime for a dance partner. And danced we did. That guy's evil. Is a split in the Erdtree like a divine gates? Like the actual split in the Erdtree? Maybe. We've definitely thought that for a while as a possibility. Like we don't like think that is necessarily the case, but it's hard to say. I have indeed wondered if the divine gate was the remnants of another kind of great tree, like an Erdtree, a proto Erdtree of sorts, but it doesn't look entirely tree-like, unfortunately, which doesn't mean that it isn't the case, because we do have the Erdtree's roots having like a bunch of corpses in it, so it would be thematic that the Divine Gate could have something similar going on. If the Divine Gate were anything like that, I imagine it would have been like a spiral tree, which might explain why it's a gate, because it has like two sides to it, because there could have been two stalks of that kind of tree. And I'll talk a lot more about that once I burn the sealing tree and then go pick up the spiral tree seal. And thanks for all the GGs. Why does the player get runes when enemies kill each other? So I don't think there's a great explanation for it. I think my headcanon for Bloodborne, which kind of works better than the other games, would be that the role of the good hunter or the chosen undead or the tarnished might be that of a kind of a prototypical Grim Reaper, a Shinigami, essentially. And so when we kill things, we reap their souls and we take it with us to eventually guide them to the place they must rest. But like I said, that works a lot better for Bloodborne than something like Elden Ring. Although you can kind of make that analogy still work with Elden Ring, with the idea that we will be eventually returning all of these souls to the Erdtree. So that could have been the role of the Tarnished. So if we had our own gold, when we die, we would give our gold to the Erdtree. So perhaps with America draining us of our gold, it would allow us to become vessels for other kinds of gold to fill us, which we could empty out back into the Erdtree. So we are America's bees. The ant theory is real. Save Frog says, after a lot of thought, Divine Beast is your favorite theme in the expansion. It is a really good one, for sure. Captini said, if the Erdtree is the Divine Gate, then maybe the real Divine Gate had a beast in it too, and Marika pulled gold out of its eye. That is a very common idea. I don't dislike it, but it just doesn't answer my questions about what the hell is going on with the two fingers and the Elden Beast. So it's not a bad theory. I'm just upset we don't have more info about other stuff. And thanks for the nice kill, Astanex. Appreciate that. And Kyle, welcome back in. Runes just seem like memories or experience. Even watching something die lets you learn from their experience. And that could be another way of looking at it as well. An operator thinks that runes were literally minute fragments of the shattered Elden Ring that accrued more or less in beings depending on their power. So part of the reason why I mentioned the memory stuff is because when we defeat bosses and whatnot... Oh, we don't get a remembrance for that. That's correct. All right. I'm having a moment. Whenever we defeat a bigger boss, we can get remembrances, which are memories that are hewn into the Erdtree. So with the Erdtree being a world tree, the same kind of tree as the Yggdrasil based on Norse mythology, thematically speaking, figuratively speaking, because Ania does call the Erdtree the world tree for some reason in Japanese once. I think they just didn't go back and update their text. The Norns would take the memories of the people who died and they would carve them onto the bark of the Yggdrasil to memorialize them if they were of a certain level of importance, like if they'd done enough deeds to even be worth remembering in the first place. And I think that same principle is at play with remembrances, because it's not just the demigods, it's the remembrances of greater champions as well. So people who did a lot of warring essentially and remembered a lot. And that ties back into my whole headcanon theory about the branch sword talismans saying that the heart sings when it draws close to death, and glorious end awaits those who cling so tenaciously to life to render up a death worth offering. And because of the whole trope of one's life flashes before their eyes right before they die. So if these moments happen more frequently, maybe they just kind of build stronger memories. So the more you struggle, the stronger your will becomes. That's kind of like a FromSoft trope as well. And for some reason, the will ties into memory somehow, which I don't entirely know exactly how or why. So, going back to the whole aspect of them being fragments of the Elden Ring itself, I don't disagree with that by any means, and that's kind of more or less verbatim as to what these types of runes are, but oh yeah, I'll go back to the talisman. There is a bit of a commonality between that idea versus what's going on in the smithing talisman, which says, in ancient times, smithing was a divine act, and blacksmiths interpreted the script they perceived in the wrinkles of molten steel to imbue weapons with souls. So there's something about gold which can attract and anchor souls, which is a long time theory that I've had with the way that I think Godwin's body was left with its gold, but his soul was destroyed. So I typically think that gold equals body stuff and soul equals spiritual FP cosmos type stuff. And there is some kind of overlap between them, and I don't know exactly where the boundaries are, but I also don't know where the dividing line between soul and memory and gold is, because whenever we use spirit ashes, it's the spirits within the ashes remembering battles long past, and that allows them to gain a semi-corporeal form. And for those who live in death, Roger has a bit of dialogue that makes it clearer in the Japanese that the transgression that they had wasn't what's he say in English? Anyway, it's not important what he says in English. And the Japanese says, like, the reason they live is because they still have, like, the will within them. And so I was wondering whether or not these types of will that the dead have, if that was transferred to them through Deathblight. Because those who live in death were kind of, like, resting in peace until Deathblight came into contact with them. So how does that work? Is that because the Deathblight is giving them something extra? Is the Deathblight kind of willing them to live? And that could, like, tie into a whole bunch of, like, philosophical ideas, like Nietzsche's will to power and things like that. But I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole. I think if you guys are following me this far, you probably get where I'm going with all this. There is some reality to anxiety making a memory stronger to a degree. Yeah, and so some of that stuff also gets carved into the body, which is why you get things like PTSD and why trauma can be so traumatic. And also, to play devil's advocate, there's also the possibility that anxiety and traumatic events can erode one's memory. So, just to, put the shoe on the other foot a little bit. Say Frog said, runes are literally letters of the Elden Ring, and the Finger Maidens use them to change reality by telling your story. Maybe. It is also very fascinating to me that when Melina talks to us while we level up, she says, share them with me, your thoughts, your emotions, the principles you would live by, something to that effect. So there's some really interesting stuff going on there. And I've got a general picture of what I think is going on, but I'm always missing, like, the final link in the chain to tie it all together. And Boris, nice to see you again. Any hot takes you missed? Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it is a big line to miss out on in the English, unfortunately. And to be fair, like, the Roger stuff also ties in tangentially to the way that, like, Fia says when she grabs us, she takes our will to create her Baldachin blessings. So if those who live in death are infused with excess willpower, perhaps that's a big conjecture if statement. If they're given that will, where does it come from? My thoughts were that when Fia takes our life force to create a Baldachin's blessing, she's doing something similar to the way she lies with Godwin to produce that mending rune. So she's literally giving him a form of rebirth in a different type of life via the rune, perhaps. So that's why I don't think we get anything with Godwin in the DLC, because Miyazaki and company didn't seem to want to touch on the established canonicity of the base game, the cowards. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys with all of that. Okay, that makes Those Who Live in Death make so much more sense. Glad to hear it. Operator since the Elden Ring governs all of reality, they can imagine the rune fragments also describe or manipulate things like a person's thoughts and principles and abilities. I'm just going to be a little bit pedantic and nitpicky here. I think we're led to believe that it's supposed to govern the rules of all reality, but I don't think it actually does, because the protection of the Erdtree spell says that over time, the Erdtree became the embodiment of order after war and conflict, which implies that it was not the embodiment of order before such wars and conflicts took place. So I think America has been strengthening the power of the Elden Ring over time. But, okay, now that we've talked about all of that, we're going to go back into a lot of the other stuff that we've talked about during the stream, with burning the seedling tree and then picking up the spiral tree shield. I also didn't even read the lion thing. Okay, so before that. Divine Beast Tornado, the Tempest of the Dancing Lion, wielded as an incantation. A whirlwind-like twist of the body summons a storm, launching a tornado forward. Charging enhances potency. The majority of divine beasts were gored and hung upon Mesmer's spears, then burned in his flame. Those who witnessed the deed likened it to a funeral pyre for the tower itself. So, as far as this description goes, it could mean that Mesmer literally fought the actual divine beasts, or this could just be saying divine beasts via their proxies of their sculpted keepers, which would be a little bit more in line with the types of sculpted keepers we saw impaled in the story trailers. And man, I just love the visual design of the divine beast lion guys. The story trailer with the faces all wrinkled and stuff is just peak. It's kind of weird because saying it's the funeral pyre for the tower itself kind of makes it sound like the tower could have been sealed then, like it's gone, or it is unclear when exactly the tower was sealed. At the very least, when we see the story trailer, when it looks up to the sky, Enir-Ilim is not visible. So that could have happened in the course of Mesmer's crusade, or it could have happened much, much earlier, depending on how one feels about the very beginning of the story trailer, talking about the beginning and America more or less allowing gold and shadow to be born together, I suppose. But there's a lot to talk about with that too. All right, so now we've got the seedling tree, which I think is very, very, very reminiscent of the second stalk of the shadow tree over there. So not the Erdtree one with the sap coming out. I think it's kind of in the same pose. So if you just had another tree-like stump going through the middle of this, it might look very similar to what's going on with that, minus the little hands, I suppose. So it almost might be worth taking a screenshot of this and superimposing another fake Erdtree thing here, just to see how well they may or may not align. But setting all that aside, the shadow tree itself has a bunch of thorns on it, which also kind of ties it to the shadow tree that way. But are these thorns really only on the second stalk? Yeah, I guess we don't really see on the first. Maybe I'll go towards the north section of the landscape to check it. It's a little bit ambiguous. Pedantic and nitpicky is a well-respected love language? Well, then you must be a masochist, my friend. And Jack says, America just trimmed the tree to make it more orderly. That might unironically be true, sort of. Operator said, wait, is that compatible with the Elden Beast sparing the Elden Ring down to the lands between? At least you think you remember that being a thing. Elden Beast would later become the Elden Ring. Yeah, so there is the possibility that all of the things relating to the Elden Ring and the Elden Beast could have like happened way before Marika became a god, and then when she became a god, that's when she kind of like synthesized all of that power into herself. And I guess going back to that idea of using like Moog's horns to summon the divine, I kind of hinted at this in my last video that if the horn scent are impure and they've been using their horns to summon in divine beasts, what would happen if somebody who is pure summoned another type of beast? And I used like the imagery of Marika and the Elden Beast to kind of like drive the point home in a not so subtle fashion. So if Marika was performing something similar to the Sacred Rite Scroll, where she needed a bunch of horns to summon a divinity, did she sacrifice the horn scent to call down the Elden Beast's spirit into her body? So that might sound really incompatible with some of the other stuff that I talked about tonight, but just to kind of set the stage, there might have been the possibility that the Elden Beast was kind of in the lands between, but just kind of roaming free or not fully corporeal. Maybe it was so small that it wasn't that big yet, and by Marika summoning it into herself and funneling it with the life force of all those things that died, it eventually grew into the much bigger beast that we see today. But of course, all that is extremely heavy speculation. So it feels when you sacrifice an entire race of horn-growing humanoids and accidentally invoke the outer god of rats. Yeah, more like the inner god of order, apparently. But okay. Oh yeah, aside from the sealing tree, I almost said healing tree, we've got some more monumental type figures, like these little children. Monumentals in Demon Souls were used to seal away the old one, and the Japanese name for the old one is like the old beast, more specifically. So like the beast seal talisman, whatever it's called in Demon Souls, is like the one English description which makes it clear that the old one is a beast, and is like the god of that realm. So maybe there's some thematic parallels to these things, looking toward Enir-Ilim that's sealed. We also get a bunch of these dudes in the cleansing chamber, which is super interesting to me, but I have no idea what to make of it all. All right, so enough waffling. Let's go ahead and examine that sealing tree. Burn it. Will this get rid of my kindling? Let me double check. That's a consumable, isn't it? What? Oh, I'm not on my key items. Okay. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. This tab. The kindling that burned inside Mesmer the Impaler, a dark thing eaten away at by a wicked serpent, burns the sealing tree said to be found at the old Rao ruins. Mesmer, much like his younger sister, bore a vision of fire. So maybe both of them needed to be sacrificed to burn these respective trees? Does that imply that they are part of these trees? I don't like that idea fully, because the Tarnished can burn themselves to burn the Erdtree if they follow the path of the Lord of Frenzied Flame. So, I digress. Let's burn it. Commit another cardinal sin. Hold on. The sky turned gold there after we burned it away. So obviously when we get to Enir-Ilim, it does turn into like the golden sky that we can kind of see in the story trailer. But I kind of want to double check it from the Rao place now. That's awkward. Okay. So it's still night. It was still night on the timer there. I was just curious if we can see it be day over here. I doubt it, but I just wanted to double check. Which I'm glad I did that cutscene at night. I was thinking it looked pretty wild doing it at that time of day. Yep, so definitely still very much night. Oh, that was awkward. Anyway, okay. The ceiling tree is gone. The shadow tree is still as it is, though. Is it more golden now? Maybe I should have paid more attention. Yeah, maybe I'm just imagining it. Actually, I don't know, unironically. Because I thought a moment ago that it was just like the sap. That could have just been selective thinking. Selective vision, I suppose. Okay. So we will come back to Enir-Ilim, but the one thing that I wanted to point out, which is also in line with the idea of the tower being sealed before the Crusade of Lower Bellirat, would be that these outer ramparts are heavily scorched by flame, whereas Enir-Ilim proper is kind of in a pristine condition. So it was certainly sealed before the base of Bellirat was burned, which isn't incompatible with it being sealed during the Crusade. It's just that it happened before the bottom was burned. Right. Templetown ruins. Hey Stella, how's it going? Screw Godwin, the real lore we needed was learning where Melina became burned and bodiless. Enir-Ilim itself initially glows white gold when revealed. Yeah, I didn't notice that before. Makes me want to like re-examine the story trailer too in relation to all that. And hey, Pigsy, nice to see you again. Maybe the Elden beast used to be different and was a sort of horn-scent god. They love their beasts. America uses her god powers to put the beast into the Elden Ring. Maybe. I think that is indeed a plausible possibility. Where am I going? Oh, yeah. So if we're here, we're going to go up and to the left. And Crash Bandicoot thinks of the Kundalini whenever you hear the base serpent thing. Hold on. Where's my spirit spring? Because Mesmer's flames are very red, like the root chakra. You don't know, could be something to look into. Maybe. I don't know. I see what you're saying. I'm just trying to think of how well that can map onto Elden Ring, and or what problems would come from trying to put some more like Hinduistic slants onto the lore. Like, does it stop with the Kundalini thing, or does it continue beyond that? Well, I guess we have the Rakshasa and Shura as well, so it's not unfair, to be frank. Okay. Pigsy says, people keep saying that it's Melina that teleports us to Farum, but burning this tree also teleports us. That seems to be the key. So does that mean the Erdtree itself is linked to Farum Azula, and the Shadow Tree is linked to Enir-Ilim? Honestly, wow, I cannot talk tonight. I honestly think it's a little weird that we actually get teleported at all to Enir-Ilim, especially because they make such a big deal about climbing up the tower from the Theater of the Divine Beast, and then you don't even enter it that way. I feel like the devs were just afraid that players were going to forget what they should be doing, and so they just made like a fail-safe thing. You wish I could transmog my gear? Or do you mean transmog to my gear? I'm not sure what you're asking, or do you just mean in general? And if so, why? So that way you could like hide what stats you're wearing. You just wear the Bull Goat set, but other stuff on top of it. Oh yeah, I need to look for the painter, don't I? Dude, this painter eluded me for such a long time. I hate this guy. I think I need to like walk on top of it as part of the problem because I was like looking for him. Yeah. I was looking for the actual ghost, and so I was like scanning the surroundings, not necessarily thinking that it needed to be like right next to it. So for anybody wondering what the hell was going on with that, we actually had a painting. Wait. Oh, okay. We had the Sacred Tower painting that we picked up way earlier in the game. The soul of the painter, yeah, these don't say anything, so it just says Sacred Tower. And you can't get this guy to spawn up until Enir-Ilim is unsealed, which, oh, damn, maybe this is a reason to believe that the sealing of the tower happened later, too, because somebody was around to paint it. Granted, we don't know when these painters painted. Shoot, was he a horn-scent painter? I thought all of their bodies are just like the normal nobles. Probably just a bit of a dev oversight, to be honest, but, you know, gonna try to treat it as though it's not. There tends to be color and thematic parallels to the whole chakra shenanigans. St. Trina shown with an eye on her forehead. The pineal gland, yeah, where the third eye chakra is. Purple indigo-ish smoke. I need to think about the chakra stuff more. I'm vaguely familiar with it, but not familiar enough to know like what colors correspond to what. But thanks for pointing that out. Might be worth investigating for real. In the Shadow Altus, it still appears to be veiled in shadow. Enir-Ilim, I'm pretty sure it doesn't. I'll go and check in a little bit. You don't get the teleport either. Allows people to skip the dancing lion boss. That's true. You don't have to fight it, which is kind of awkward. No, I wouldn't necessarily chalk both teleports up to the devs were lazy as much as it is just this one, the second one, to Enir-Ilim. The Farum Azulan one makes sense because there's no like access point to Farum Azula, whereas this one feels more odd to me because we have a story beat telling us we need to be able to access the front of that tower, and you don't even need to access the tower from that spot at all. It's a little bit of an odd MacGuffin and red herring in a way. Hey Matthew Sargent, nice to see you again. Alright, so now we get the item that I've been hyping up for so long, the Spiral Tree Seal. Sacred seal of soiled amber engraved with a spiral tree design. Enhances spiral incantations. The majesty of the White Tower, stretching to reach the gods, even inspired a secret faith in the invaders, the people of the Erdtree. Wait a second. Okay, no. I was like, wait a second. Does this actually imply the Erdtree existed? This is like one of the more annoying things of the lore theory hunting, because if you take this super literally that they were the people of the Erdtree and the Erdtree existed, then that could have some major ramifications for the lore. But if you take it metaphorically, which I think is the intended reading here, that... Wait. Okay, no. This is probably a reference to the Crusaders. Let me think about this. It could have also been... Okay, so I guess there's two different ways you can read this. I think the most straightforward one would be that the invaders are the reference to Mesmer's Crusaders. But there's another possibility that the invaders could have been Marika's people when she did whatever the hell she did at the Divine Tower to begin with. Or not Divine Tower, the Divine Gate to begin with. And if you take it to be Marika's people, the original folk, then did the Erdtree already exist? That seems very unlikely. Or is this a reference to people that would go on to become people of the Erdtree later? It would be another way of reading it. So, like I've been saying, I think the most natural way to read this would be about the forces of Mesmer's army. But that would also imply that the White Tower was not actually sealed until much later, potentially. Well, yeah, I guess it would, because I'm trying to think about the timeline here, because if they arrived with Marika originally, they could have been inspired by it, and then she could have sealed it, and it could have been like an age where they had like seen it originally, but didn't necessarily forget about it. So this is like the kind of an annoying part of the lore to me. It's like you can read it so many different ways to justify so many different beliefs that it's hard to stick with one and try to take other takes in good faith, even if they like disagree with yours. So anyway, let me hydrate and then I'll read what you guys are saying again. Yeah, True Connoisseur, you bring up a good point that it's weird that they don't send us back to the spot where we fought the Dancing Lion, because that would have made a lot more sense. Well, I guess there's no site of grace there. So if they teleported us there or behind the boss, that could have been awkward, but maybe not. I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking. Maybe they just didn't want people to like walk back into a boss room that they didn't need to fight. But good points. Actually, that might be worth doing in a playthrough. Ignoring the Divine Lion, then coming to Enir-Ilim, and then coming down from the top elevator to fight it. Operator said, us trying so hard to disentangle the timeline when it's the devs simply assuming we're not paying attention? Yeah, maybe. Matthew asks, why do I think the amber is soiled? I was going to get to that in a moment here. Bro has a confession you're playing right now and you wanted to confirm it for yourself. Rip. Crash says, is Miquella already at the tower before we burn the sealing tree? Yes. So if you progress through the game and go directly to Belurot and fight the Divine Lion, there will be a note in front of the tower telling us that Miquella is already up above, but we're not Empyreans, so we can't access the Divine Tower. So apparently Empyreans, or at least Miquella, because he discarded his flesh, can like go to another removed realm. Anyway, there is something which says like Miquella's up there before we burn it. Which is also really weird because it says that Miquella's up there that early in the game, but his Great Rune breaks only when we come nearer the Shadow Keep. I guess. I think. I should double check that. I guess I don't actually know for sure. You can't open the door from the Enir-Ilim side. You missed that door on your first run and you couldn't open it. That's awesome. Thank you, Scaleezy. Nice to see you again. Kyle asks, do we know Marika is the one who put the shadow seal over Enir-Ilim? For some reason, you assumed it was Mesmer. So that is a fantastic question, and technically we don't know. But part of the reason why I tend to imply that she's the one that did it is because of the story trailer. And while I do think it is technically ambiguous from the contents of the game alone, if we think that Mesmer did it instead, we would need to either figure out what the hell the DLC story trailer was talking about with the birth of Gold and Shadow, or disregard the canonicity of those kind of promotional materials, which is certainly a choice to make. I think I would definitely understand why somebody would want to do that, and I totally respect the whole idea of like the death of the author as far as like video games are concerned. And if somebody wants to take the hardline stance that the only things canon to the game are things that are directly accessible from the game itself, I will totally fully support someone in that interpretation, even if it's not entirely one that I strictly adhere to myself. So, very good question. Operator said, the thorns suggest it might be Radagon. And that ties back into like a lot of my columns about like what is the Crucible to the Erdtree to like the Shadow Tree and Radagon's involvement with all of these things. So this will tie back into like the one tree theory, the two tree theory versus like the three tree theory that I was mentioning, I think, on last night's stream. It's all good, Asnex. For Fashion Souls? Okay. Understandable. True Connoisseur said, it's possible Mick went up to Enir-Ilim, then realized he had to go chat with Mesmer or whatever. You don't seriously think that, but who knows? Yeah, he's like, hey, bro, could you burn that tree for me? And Mesmer is just like, no. And so we have to do it for Miquella, because we're pawns in his game. Natsu thinks Radagon did the sealing. He sealed the Erdtree with impenetrable thorns. I definitely think that seems like the most likely explanation, but I would also like to give other people's explanations the fair shake that I can, which is why I try to look at everything from as many angles as possible. And then Impact Player, nice to see you again. Do you have a question? Go for it. Okay, True Connoisseur actually has the quote for us. It's, quote, the gate of divinity lies in the tower sealed by shadow. That is surely where kind Miquella is headed. Okay, so he might not be there yet. Okay, that can make sense. But then, let's double check Dane's note. Oh wait, we have the notes. So this is the newest one. We are no Empyreans, but we must locate the path that will lead us there. I will follow the crosses east. Kind Miquella seeks the tower sealed by shadow and the gate of divinity found there. If we are to reach him, we must burn the tree that seals the path, and for that we require a flame. So this is the one that implies that Miquella is already there. Because he's beyond, like, if we can't reach him because of the thorns, that means he's beyond them, right? And this could be a mistaken belief on the part of Leda, and Miquella could be potentially using his charms to get us to do his dirty work for him, possibly, depending on how much agency the player wants to think Miquella really has on the events of the DLC. And then this was the one by Dane that we saw in the Ra Ruins a moment ago on the last stream. So a couple of moments ago, really. Quote, we found the sealing tree just ahead, but if we are to burn it, we need the proper kindling, that of Sir Mesmer. Dane passed on a message. The sealing tree is in the ancient ruins of Rao. It lies beyond the high bridge leading from the first floor of the storehouse. I will join you there once I finish the task at hand. So yeah, we do have some indications that Miquella should be in Enir-Ilim proper, beyond the thorns of the sealing tree there. Operator said, why did Miquella divest himself of his flesh in so many different spots? Allegedly, he's following the path America took, depending on how much you believe the promotional materials. But, yeah, don't know what to say other than that, man. Who does it benefit to lock up the gate? It could benefit America from preventing others from attaining divinity, perhaps. That's another good question that I wish we knew like a real answer to. And welcome back to the stream, Stowboat. We see America's body in the arena? Where is that? I don't think that's true. It also says he seeks it. You normally don't seek something you have found. Well, it seems as though Miquella is actively on his journey when we follow him into the Shadowlands. So he might have gone to Enir-Ilim and then realized he needed to divest himself of his rune and other parts of his bodies. So that could be it. So he might have like gone there first. It's like, okay, I need to get rid of my stuff. And so he started getting rid of like Saint Trina, all of the other cross pieces, and then he got rid of his rune, and then maybe he went back. Could be one potential way of reading things here. So I wonder if this was the first one, second, third, fourth, fifth. Six, seven, eight. This just doesn't make sense for a journey. Whatever. 9, 10, and then 11 in the place. All right. Now, going back to that question about the soiled amber. So, we've talked a lot about the possibility of there being a literal spiral tree as a predecessor to the Erdtree. And if such a tree did exist, it's possible that this seal could have been formed out of its amber. It is kind of a reddish color, which is very interesting and might pertain to things like the Crucible. So it's possible that the spiral tree could have been the Crucible tree, as I've mentioned before, with the way that the Silurian Crucible Knight's armor set kind of has a spirally depiction on the base of it. So like if there are roots on this armor, okay, that's pretty decent. Like if the roots are down there on the bottom, we've got this like spiraling type thing going up into what looks like might be the trunk, where we get like the face of life on it based off of Devonia's hammer description. And then when we wear the helmet, this might be the branches of such a tree. So the spiral tree might just have a spirally base rather than what's going on up top. I don't entirely know. And that might tie into this. Could this be upside down? Maybe it doesn't matter. And of course, it does look like we have two hands sprouting out of like a sword-like thing in the middle of them. And I don't think I actually talked about it on this stream. Or if I did, it might have been... Maybe I didn't talk about it at all. Anyway, going back to that whole sword-like imagery in the thing, that does kind of oddly remind me of the Confessor's armor, which I guess I'll show off. Should I put my hood back on? I'm kind of curious how this looks. You know, this isn't half bad. Oh, that's actually really good. Except I think the colors don't match. And it's raining. Okay. Where do I go now? Well, Enir-Ilim will always be sunny, so may as well go back up here. May as well go back up here. Yeah, and Corn says that the spiral tree sigil thing looks a lot like the Godslayer's greatsword. I think so too. But I will also show off the Confessor cloak and the cross. I don't know if I have the cross tree tower shield. So, for whatever reason, the Confessor armor depicts a... What does it say exactly? It's not on this. Is it the crossbow? Man, I always forget what talks about the tree thing of the Confessors. Drawing a blank. It's not that. It's not that. It wouldn't be like twin blades. Where did we get the... Oh, okay. I think I know. The vial. Nope. Anyway, the same sigil appears on the bottom of Krepus's vial, which is related to the two fingers, which is kind of fascinating. There's another type thing. I don't remember like the words for it. Twin Blade Talisman doesn't have it either. I guess I'm gonna have to like look up tree. Give me a minute, unless you guys say it in chat. It's a sword with the two fingers, not Crucible stuff. Riveted wooden shield. I always forget what the hell it is. Okay. Do I have that? I think I did pick it up. No? Where do we get it? Damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it. We get it from the nomadic merchant in East Limgrave. East Limgrave. Oh, okay, by Fort Height. I didn't buy this? Maybe I had like absolutely no runes. Alright, we're going to make a detour. After I get done with this detour, to talk about the cross tree tower. Not that one, but that one too. So yeah, speaking of spiral trees and whatnot, these seem like they could have been more akin to spiral trees. We do kind of get the shaman corpse things within trees which are similar to those. So if there was a spiral tree, I imagine it could have been like a gigantic one of something like that. O tower of ours, hidden in shadow, O lofty spiral piercing the heavens, lead him safely unto greater godhood, and in divinity grant our salvation. So this is another indicator that Miquella might be beyond here, but I guess that dude could just be technically praying to the tower itself rather than Miquella. Right, so before we couldn't access this part because it was blocked off by the impenetrable thorns. And now they're gone because we burned them with the ceiling tree. Mesmer fire grease. It's kind of weird that we get that up here in Enir-Ilim. So maybe that does imply that they got here into the Crusade? Things are really starting to stack up into the whole later ceiling timeline than I was expecting. How many cases of dev oversight can we get before we have to admit maybe it wasn't an oversight? Alright, so we made our detour. We are in Enir-Ilim proper. And this part will just connect back into the area that we were at a moment ago. But not if I go down that way. The area we were at a moment ago. Which I didn't check out this region, but... Although he angry. Thought he was going to do his cool dive bomb attack. Sucker. So that's when the divine birds, in their capricious ways, kill their associated warriors. All right, and before I go on a crazy tangent about all of the Enir-Ilim stuff, I'm going to show off these cool little horned lion hippo looking like things. They've got like the omen horn, the beast horns. And hey guys, there's Rao. We are back to the very beginning. Alright, so let's go see that nomadic merchant. Because I can't let sleeping dogs lie. Kind of unironically true. Like, have you ever seen a sleeping dog? It's cute as hell. You want to disturb it? Alright. Hey, Borb, nice to see you again. The elevator that just takes you to the drop-off to grab the gray bird mask. Where am I going? Oh, yeah. Our merchant friend. You disturb your dog a lot to pet her? Yeah. Oh, man. My little guy, if it's, like, late at night, pretty much when I get done with streaming, I found out that I piss him off by asking him to move so I can like climb into my spot on my bed, and he'll start growling at me because he doesn't want to get up because he's too tired. So I have to ask him to not move because it pisses him off. So I just ask if he wants to like come here and cuddle instead, and that seems to not piss him off. Anyway.
Ah, hello. How nice of you to stop by again. Please buy something, won't you?
Oh, dear customer. Okay, so the riveted wooden shield. Yep, I literally went out of my way just to get this. I may as well buy this, huh? Now that I've got an abundance of runes, I can level up already. What did I even fight? Oh, the lion? Did I not level up? Maybe, probably. Erdtree against a blue sky. There's a lot of weird stuff going on with the depictions of the Erdtree that I want to talk about too. Alright, so we can go back to the first rise. Gaslighting my own dog? I'm not gaslighting him. I'm appealing to his sweeter nature rather than just telling him to move. I'm asking him to come here if he wants to cuddle. And he does. Alright, so I literally just spent all that time trying to describe this stupid symbol on the back of me armor, because this is a warrior thing for some reason rather than a confessor thing. Riveted wooden shield. Small wooden round shield that has been reinforced with metal. It is light and easy to handle, but cannot offer the damage negation of a true metal shield. The design riveted to the center represents both sword and tree. So sword and tree kind of also looks like what we get with this symbol on our backs right here. And these are similar enough, but distinct enough that I think that they are probably different, but I think the similarities are just kind of interesting, that they might have had the idea even when they were like making the earliest parts of the base game. So the spiral tree seal shows off a kind of sword-like thing, which looks extremely similar to the Godslayer Greatsword or the Sacred Relic Blade, except it has like hands coming out of it, but if the blade was born of a corpse, it kind of makes sense. So what exactly is going on with that, I don't know. The other cool thing about this symbol is the very bottom of it kind of reminds me of the way that the iris can have like a bunch of lines in it, so it almost looks like a half cut off eye. So this symbol could be evocative of a number of different images, I suppose. And let's go ahead and equip our other favorite sword for good measure, just to show people what it looked like. Where it is, I be blind. Should be over here. Okay. So this is the Godslayer Greatsword. Part of the reason why this is so interesting is because not only is the blade kind of spiraling and looks a little bit wooden, the hilt is also very similar with the way that it's facing and shaped to what we get with that seal over here. Obviously, there's no bit of obsidian in the seal itself, but some real cool stuff going on here. Oh, and it's nice that we've also got the spiral imagery of Enir-Ilim going on in the background as well. Now that we're talking about that, when we look at these spirals on the tower itself, they seem to have people infused into them. So does that mean that the spirals that are meant to pierce the heaven are built off the backs of like the souls of people or their hard work? Or is this just some decorative stuff that has a different kind of a thematic purpose? You decide. Operator bribes her dog with treats. I understand this struggle. Alright. So some of the other stuff to point out about Enir-Ilim is that it's got a lot of the belly rot imagery as well. And the figures depicted in many places throughout Enir-Ilim and belly rot lack horns, which can tie into my whole maybe the Hornsent aren't as ancient as they're portrayed theory, and that they're originally just normal folk until the Fire Nation attacked. I was saying the Fire Nation attacked as a throwaway line, but thinking about it in relation to Mesmer's forces, it tends to be less of a joke after all, huh? So we took that off, we took that off. I'm gonna want my lantern though. Definitely gonna want that. Hey Captini and Pokemon, how's it going? You think there might be some kind of human centipede thing going on? I definitely think that's the case, and we will have a lot to say about that really shortly here, as a matter of fact. And Night Scott, welcome back into the stream. You think the human carvings and Enir-Ilim spirals are symbolic of the gate of divinity at the top? Also, with the spiral tree seal, you wonder if it's like an ancient idea of what the Crucible would look like, the Shadow Tree if it was harmed in the Crusade, etc. So I'll leave that comment alone for now, just to talk about this stuff. Hey guys, you ever notice the trees in Enir-Ilim? Isn't it super cool how they actually have golden leaves? When I first came up here, I was like, oh man, this stuff really reminds me of what it looks like at the Elden Throne with all of the golden leaves next to like the Erdtree and whatnot. And so we got a burned Hornsent corpse. Which this one might just be a little bit laziness because they're used so heavily in the other parts that I don't think like the Crusaders actually got to this spot here. Anyway, what is so special about these trees is that they've got corpses in them. I guess we can't really say that these are corpses directly, but they've got souls or people within them. Part of the reason why I say these might not be corpses is because when you go into like some of these rooms, you'll have these tiny trees, and people don't come that small in fertilizer form, I guess, to like look the way that they do in them, which could be actual dev oversight. So anyway, having talked about these trees, this does leave me with a lot of questions about what the hell is going on with the Hornsent and Enir-Ilim's culture. Did America get the idea of how an Erdtree should function from this? Are the people within these trees the Miko of like the shaman village? Or were they... What happened to the Hornsent that didn't go on to become like Hornsent and like tainted? Would they not have made good fertilizer? Or is it the opposite, that like their sinners and whatnot were made into fertilizer for these trees? Is this just a way to circumvent death? I don't really know, but it's really got me thinking. Excuse me, I hiccuped. And now we got some more of the lion-esque statues, but moving into the next room. I think this thing's gonna aggro, isn't it? Okay. Moving into this next room, we have some actual like hippo looking like things on the above the windows, plus the braided type cord that you can see on like Nanaya's garb, and you could even see those spirally things in the divine beasts arena. It's got a bell. Okay. Night Scout says, alternatively, Enir-Ilim might be a man-made sacred tree trying to pierce into the heavens and use saints as fuel as a holy tree's sap and fruit. Yeah, that seems like it could be a really good possibility as well. And Stella says they could sort of be like the faith in Final Fantasy X. Yeah, I think that's another possibility. Which I try to keep Final Fantasy away from my lore theorizing, but it is really fun when it kind of works. Which, I poured a lot of my heart and soul into making my video comparing Bloodborne to Final Fantasy VII, and nobody watched it. I felt bad. Oh well. That's how it goes sometimes. A baby vulgar militiaman might be small. Oh, so that's how they fit into the DLC, Dylan? You think the Hornsent tried to use their jar tech to force people into massive tree wounds and meld them together, or else transmutate humans into plants? Perhaps these trees are actually what the Hornsent's tree leaves are about. They'd have a spiraling structure and force bodies inside. Them biting their tails might be reminiscent of some Fair Missoula murals, though a few of the Fair Missoula murals might be beastmen turning into worm faces. Do the China trees have people too? Yes, I was about to show that off. Captini said, didn't Dante's Inferno have people petrified into trees? Pagans and unbaptized people? That wouldn't surprise me. I only have like the vaguest of familiarities with Dante's Inferno. Kyle said the Dante Inferno trees were suicides. Okay, that's interesting. So probably not analogous to what's going on here. I wonder if we can make out what these things are saying. I think these are actually just the fly scent beneath us. Alright. So... That's not the best angle for those. Even on these small trees, you've got like corpses in them. Actually, that corpse looks big enough to not be problematic. Is it? Okay, this is a better one. I made a noise. So even on these... Really? Even on these trees, you can see tiny, tiny corpses, like, crawling up them. Which, I don't know, Chief. I don't think that's it. So this tree right here also has a ton of this stuff going on. I think it is also interesting how visually similar, like, the bark style on this tree is to the kind of super glowing minor Erdtrees that we see in the Shadow Keep and the minor Erdtree Church in Altus Plateau. Can I get a good look at the Inquisitor's bracelets? Any tree motifs? Okay, let's try it. I don't think so, but you might be onto something. It's kind of hard to say. I'm going to go with doubt it. I am upset that we don't get their dagger short swords or their banana boat torches. Rune Arc, which is interesting. So I honestly don't want to do like any real lore theorizing, conjecturing about whether or not they got the rune arc from the Elden Ring here or anything like that, but some people think this is a significant thing. I kind of have the opinion that it's probably a bit more of a gameplay thing, but I'm sure people feel differently about that. It's curious how the Enir-Ilim trees have a leaf color reminiscent of the ochre robes worn by the Hornsent. I think that kind of just represents some of their divinity, but I think it is a little bit different in general. Like they're a bit more gold, more yellowy, but close enough, I suppose. Do I think it matters that some of the corpses are larger than normal? They look like they could be the same size as corpses in Noxtella and Nokron. Oh, you mean of like the burned folk in that place? I don't know, and that has been a comparison that's been brought up, and I wish I had a better handle on what was going on with the Noxtellan corpses and the Nox corpses, I guess, like all of them. But yeah, good question. You don't get how they get rune arcs and runes, but Mesmer doesn't get a great rune. Because he had a seal of grace, silly. You want the Beastman throwing knife? That weapon's so awesome. As a consumable, that would have been cool. He doesn't think that the Hornsent built this place. You would believe it if you're told they built belly rots under an existing divine tower, but the architecture is the same, so you don't know. This place is too divine. I kind of feel that way too. Like a lot of the Hornsent stuff doesn't seem that well ingrained or ingratiated into this stuff here. I guess pun intended, because we've got all these trees, but we do get some Hornsent depictions throughout, but it's just odd. Alright. So, talking about all that stuff, we've got what I would assume to be like death type imagery going on here. because we've got a presumably dead body that's been embalmed, being carried by like the equivalent of pallbearers on a boat. And I think this is reminiscent of an extremely ancient Egyptian boat that was used for like funerary rites. I don't remember the particulars off the top of my head. And we've even got cool little depictions of a similar thing going on with these little candelabra, which we're facing the wrong way to get a good look at them. Okay, maybe this one's better. Yeah, this should be better. So there's like a weird tree going behind a couple people rowing on these boats. Guess I can't show it off better without like a free cam. Anyway, they've got like the bull type heads as well, although these ones have more horns, which don't line up super well with any animals in real life. So maybe this is like more of a horn scent thing. Maybe it's based off of a real relic. I don't know. But one of the things that stood out to me on this candelabra is the depiction of two birds like facing each other. Whether they're twin birds is up to anybody's imagination. I'm sure many people are going to think that is very evocative of what we get with the twin bird kite shield, which I don't think I picked that up in Fair Missoula now that I think about it. Or no, we get that from the death bird, don't we? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And talking about all these spiral trees, I guess I haven't brought it up on this stream. I mean, I did, like, but not really. We've got the crossed tree tower shield, an iron great shield large enough to cover the entire body, emblazoned with an old interleaving tree. Great shields boast high damage negation and guard capacity, making enemy attacks easy to repel. Now, one of my favorite things about the icon of this tower shield, and, you know, the tower shield itself, is that it has a depiction of what looks like flame on the bottom of it. So was this tree born of fire? It looks like it has thorns, kind of reminiscent to that of the shadow tree, but we never really had much of a reason to think that had much to do with anything itself. It could be like a crucible type representation, because like the crucible is a melting pot, and if it's shaped like a tree, maybe it's melting all life together because corpses and the dead are being intermingled within it. It's just kind of my way of looking at things like that. And so that could potentially tie into how the Siluria crucible tree has spirals on the bottom of its armor. Hey Leon, nice to see you again. Operator wonders why America and Radagon sealed this place rather than letting Mesmer burn it. They might have sealed it, and probably felt it was good enough. Although I do wonder whether or not them sealing away the flame of ruin was just trying to cover their tracks so nobody else could become a god. And they probably felt they already had Mesmer under control, so they weren't worried about it. But it's weird that America tells Mesmer to go on his crusade, burning everybody else. Maybe that's just part of her wish to consolidate power. I do wonder whether or not she gave him that missive like before she initiated the shattering. But there's nothing to say one way or the other. Other than like Quayline working for Mesmer, I guess. That's pretty much it. Good bird find. They're a bit like some bird designs and the carving motifs in Fair Missoula. Yes. They do look a bit different, and some seem to be facing directly toward the viewer. Yeah. Star Ocean Second Story also has a tower sealed with thorns. It's been such a long time since I played Star Ocean 2 that I don't remember. I did pick up the remake when it was on sale, and I do want to play that. But I've been going through like the Elden Ring stuff, and now I'm playing like Path of Exile, because I want to kind of make a review for it before Path of Exile 2 comes out, to unironically potentially get like early access if the devs see it and like it or anything like that. because I tend to be pretty critical, and they seem to be extremely receptive to that kind of feedback. So, you know, just trying to play the long game. But I do want to go back and play that game really soon, because that was a really good game back in the day, and it looks like the remake just has a lot of amazing quality of life updates, but I haven't looked at them too much. The remake's sick. Nice. Oh yeah, and Pokemon, thanks for bringing it up. Yeah, so a lot of these depictions are kind of reminiscent of what we get with like the Tibia Mariners. So there's a lot of like death and life imagery within Enir-Ilim. That's kind of what I'm getting at. Yeah, Vorb says you basically only have time for like one live service and or a multiplayer game and one single player game. Yeah. And even that almost sounds like too many games, depending on how hard you're going or like how much free time you actually have. God forbid if you're a parent and, you know, need to actually be rearing your children. It's bad enough with the dog sometimes. Because, like, after I make dinner, I've pretty much got to try to exercise my little guy. And we're getting to the point where he's too used to the summer schedule because he doesn't stay tired after I play with him. So he's turned into the full monster form. He's gotten rid of the winter sleepiness. Alright, yeah, so now that we're back into Enir-Ilim, we do have some more of the horned lion imagery, which is really cool. We've got like the unicorn horn lions on this fountain. It's kind of funny for me because I like to pay a lot of extra attention to fountains just because I like them in general in the FromSoft games. And they do a really good job of having them remain unique throughout their games. I always feel like when I go into a new area, I'm going to catch them reusing the Bloodborne fountains, but I haven't seen that yet. Just the statues. So now we've got one of the big horn scent. And it's got like a bigger candle tree type torch. It sees me, despite having its face covered up. Honestly, it looks like they re-skinned the Tumerian faces for these dudes. I don't think I've ever seen that. Honestly, I didn't fight this dude that much in my playthrough. Oh, come on, bro. No momentum. So these things have like the biggest, amongst like the most tangled horns of them all. They're more reminiscent of like Moog's horns than some of the others, I suppose, but I wonder whether or not the Inquisitors actually performed divine invocation of sorts, or if there's something else like more Crucible elements which caused their horns to become tangled like this. So despite saying that I think it's possible the where are they pointing? So that must be the Gate of Divinity then, I guess. So despite saying I think that the Horned Warriors have like the biggest horns of them all, I don't think that explains these dudes super well, other than the fact that we're told that the Inquisitors did perform hexes. Oh yeah, we also have the Bone Bow, which we got so long ago in Belierot. Imbue arrows with vengeful spirits before firing off a barrage. Imbued arrows chase down foes as they cut through the air. And then from the Hornsent Grandam, we can get that Vengeful Spirit, Watchful Spirit incantation, which on its own doesn't seem like it'd be a rancorous, vengeful like spirit like the other ones, but some other item description does. Oh yes, the braided cord robe does redefine even the Watchful Spirits as being analogous to Vengeful Spirits. So that was actually a hex that it just casted right there, which buffed it. And they also use hexes to heal themselves, which could imply that they're using the power of the dead to regain life. Because hexes are... Damn it, I did it again. Hexes are indeed based off of death as far as like Elden Ring goes. But technically, hex just means jujutsu, which is like curse technique. But curse technique is a little bit reductive and has more broad connotations than that in like everyday Japanese. So I pretty consistently refer to Jujutsu Kaisen as an example of it not literally meaning, well, I guess that's maybe not the best example of like, it doesn't literally mean curses, even though the characters in the like manga do use like cursed energy. It's not like the traditional idea of a curse is kind of my point. He's not fat, he's just big horned for real. Operator's dogs have been the same way lately. Yeah, my dog is kind of solar powered, so on like rainy days he tends to lie around a lot, or if it's like super cloudy. But with it being summer, he's just been extra energetic, I suppose. Dylan's never been able to do more than 1 or 2 games at a time. Same with Pokemon. Night Scott said, they look like they have enormous keratin bulbs that the horns then grew off of. It is weird how theirs are so fat. They're like bulbous horns. Because I don't know if there's anything really like that in nature. And maybe that ties into like the Crucible Knot Talisman or like the Mother of Crucible Talismans. Whatever it's called. The Everything Crucible Talisman. I was like, I thought we had one drop from the sky, and then I got. So this is one of my favorite advantages of the DLC. We've got a bunch of... It must be like their noises. It sounded like it was behind me in my headphones. We've got a bunch of manflies worshipping the revered tutelary deity statue, which actually has its head, and we can see its horns. I should have listened to the noises they were making. I forgot to do that. So we get Silver Horn Tender, implying that they were indeed horn sent, as is confirmed with item descriptions, and another revered Spirit Ash. So we've already picked up a couple for this spot here. And now we get the Red Flesh Mushroom. Alright guys, I'm going to be honest, this next enemy probably killed me more than any enemy in the DLC other than like bosses. But I did die to him more than I died to Ramana. Because without blessings, this dude was a freaking tank beast of nature and did an exorbitant amount of damage. So, curious to see how this is going to feel now. Hey Connor, nice to see you again. What do I think is the connection between Radahn having Miquella on his back and Godfrey having Sarash on his back? Does that mean the spirit of Godfrey inhabits Horlu as Radahn does Moog? I've wondered a lot of stuff about Godfrey's relation to Sarash and his identity as Horlu and Godfrey. And whether or not it's the tail wagging the dog or the dog wagging the tail. If you catch my drift. I'm glad I didn't just like fall to my death there. That's what I get for being too fidgety, I suppose. The patterns atop battlements on the blackened outer wall here remind Night scout of a railing design seen throughout Leyndell. Yeah, I haven't brought it up on the stream. I know what you're talking about. They kind of look like what you'd see in like the Nox crypt chairs too. I don't remember if we actually see these in Leyndell. It sucks that I burned it down because I meant to look into it, but even if I did, I don't know how relevant it is. But I think this stuff over here is similar, yeah. Because I definitely feel as though I've seen these types of designs elsewhere before. Tail wagging of the dog or lion taming the master in Godfrey's case. That's a good way of phrasing it too. So this guy over here is a real bastard man. So let's not fight him just yet. And instead, fall to our deaths. Nope. Try to get the coolest and most annoying incantation in the game. By the Elden throne. Yeah, that might be it. Okay. We can check that out, although I haven't fought Horaloo yet. I forgot that there was actually a horn sent here praying to that statue. Which I haven't talked about these statues yet, to be honest. Or to be fair. Spira. So we were talking about the faith of the Erdtree a moment ago. So now we have a confirmed canonical connection between Elden Ring and Final Fantasy X, because we are now in Spira. And for anybody who's like not familiar with those games, I want to be clear that's actually a joke, a pretty bad one, but nonetheless, bad jokes can make me laugh. All right, Spira. Superior sorcery of the Tower Priests, wielded as an incantation of the Spiral. Wrap one's arms together and hold them up to the heavens to summon a spiral of light that erupts at the enemy's feet. Column of light persists for as long as the button is pressed. The spiral is a normalized crucible current that one day will form a column that stretches to the gods. So now that we have talked a bit about the spiral tree seal sigil, I think the whole hands in the middle of it harken back to what's described in the spirit incantation, where when you hold your arms together and hold them up to the heavens, you kind of summon the spiral around yourself. I don't know why exactly that pose is so important. Maybe it ties into Simon's drill piercing the heavens, or maybe there's something more going on with this. But the spiral itself is kind of similar to the spiral horns. So the whole idea of normalizing the crucible current, normalize is used in the sense of rectification, and that's like the scientific definition of rectification, which if anybody doesn't understand that, I can't explain it super well, because this is only like a term that I've learned from having to look at the Japanese and be like having to look back at what the hell that means in the English dictionary. So it means normalizing in the sense of, hold on. Okay, rectifier. We've got a Wikipedia page that can kind of explain it. Okay, yeah, I didn't remember exactly the best way to phrase this, so I'm glad I looked at this right now. Quotes. A rectifier is an electrical device that converts alternating current, which periodically reverses direction, to direct current, which flows in only one direction. The reverse operation, converting DC to AC, is performed by an inverter. So I don't think this is literally saying, hey guys, the horn scent run on AC energy. I'm just saying that the principle is the same, where the crucible current might be too chaotic on its own, and Spirit is taking the power of the crucible and rectifying it to be more efficient, which will allow them to pierce the heavens with Commoner's and Simon's drills. Ten's Captini's favorite Final Fantasy. Nice. I really like that one. I kind of hated it because of certain story elements when I was younger, but I've kind of gotten over it as I've gotten older. And then Vitan Dan, nice to see you again. The Divine Beasts are super weak to magic. Like, do they actually have a statistic weakness, or are you just saying, like, the playstyle? Oh, the Stormvale Castle throne room on the pedestal beneath the statue of Godfrey and Siraj. Bro thinks that they look like the Eternal Chairs. That's what I thought too. Is the Japanese as stiff sounding as the English translation? Probably not. I mean, I could double check, but Spira. Honestly, like, the Japanese tends to be a bit more direct. So if you think the English feels a bit stilted, I felt like sometimes they just tend to be a bit flowery. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Okay. All right, had to go past all the other things labeled spiral to get to Spira. Yeah, first line is perfectly fine. Honestly, like, the Japanese is... Hold on, let me look at the English. Yeah, it's pretty much just as unwieldy, to be honest. Yeah. I would say the localization is perfectly fine for this, I think. Maybe with the only, like, caveat of, like, the normalized thing, but I don't think that's, like, a localization. Hold on, I don't think that's a translation problem as much as it is, like, an audience problem. Like, I don't know a better way to have, like, phrase that. A rectified crucible current. Maybe rectified would be a better choice than normalized, but or corrected. That might be better. Yeah, I think corrected would probably be a better localization for that. He says, normalizing sounds like combining the energy of opposing forces. Yes. Hey, nice, Vitandan. Congrats. I said skill issue, know you. So as far as, like, the syntax of things relating to the Crucible specifically, no, I would say the Japanese is obtuse on that front as well as the English. Forgot about that little corpse over meow, so let's go ahead and pick that up and then make the long detour back. Okay, so we can go up right here. I was afraid that I was going to have to run all the way back around. Did I talk about all I wanted to with Spira? Yeah. Ain't screwing around with this guy. So we have a Hornsent Lion Warrior. Oh, he's got the golden eyes. He's cheating. I was not ready for that. And he can summon storms here. obviously I should have not panic rolled. But you can add another tally mark into this dude's win column. That one cereal rectify me, Captain? I have no idea what you're talking about. It sounds like Cap'n Crunch, but it also doesn't. The rain they summon is just overkill. I feel like the ice ones are kind of the worst. So, I didn't show it off very well, but he summoned a gigantic horn into his sword. And it's like if he uses super lightning damage. Should have used the silver horn thing. Dragon Bolt Grease. Why are you getting me while I'm running? It didn't one-shot it. I don't know why it was getting me while I was running. Do I actually have to spam roll for that? So anyway, that's like a super Elder Inquisitor. I mean, if it is an Inquisitor, it might not be an Inquisitor, but it's like a super Elder. And they just can cast Spira ad nauseum. They are kind of almost posed as though they're like in the America position. It is kind of interesting that they cast the Spira-like spell without twisting their arms together, though. Ruh-roh Raggy. Damn it. Some enemies are really scary looking with the glowing eyes. Oh yeah? Actually, that kind of reminded me because I screwed around. Yeah, that's just nice. The little skull on the belt really ties the look together, doesn't it? I'm low enough in the tower that I actually saw the real sun. Whoopsies. Oh lordy, Angie. No, that still does so much damage. He does this like 5 times? Oh wow, that range though. I forgot about that part of it. Oh! By the hairs of me chinny chin shin. Holy crap. Okay. So now the next part is the hardest part, isn't it? Where's me braid? Alright, here we go. Can we still see that sun or... Nope, maybe not. I kind of feel like the storm thing influenced it. To give the contrast. The sun at the top of Enir-Ilim lines up the gate being in the northwest, but a good bit closer to the western part of the northwest. That guy caught the lightning bolt in his teeth and spat it at me, or rather he got speared through the mouth and spat it at me. So he studied under Tomoe, which is why he's able to do that. Actually, that is kind of canonically consistent between the games. Like, he did it while he was in the air, huh? It cut me off! I didn't realize it shot so many out. I thought it was the second one on top that was doing it. That's awful, man. I hate these elder things. And the hit's done with it. I don't know if I need like a ridiculous amount of poise, but please. Alright, my braided cord did save me. So we got another humanoid type lined up door here and a cross of Miquella with a Erdtree fragment. That reminds me I need to turn in my revered Spirit Ash blessings. Damn, we got up to 18. It's pretty good considering that I've been like skipping some things. Wait, is that it? I'm out of both. Yeah, it'd be up here, wouldn't it? Okay. Am I going to go get the Euphoria? Yes. But I was definitely going to level up and do this thing first. I can level up twice. I mean, at this point, I don't really need Mind against Radon. I need to live. Only one each. Feels bad, man. That soft cap, though. Going to see how degenerate I can be. Oh, 3 points still? That's crazy how much this scales because of the heavy scaling. It's only B scaling. Okay. Very strange how there's no horned animal depictions here. So that's not true. We just showed off the lions as well as like the hippos on some of the things. So as we go up the spirally tower, it's broken, because why would you ever have a direct shot anywhere in a FromSoft game? And now here is one of the elders, which would shoot its random stuff at us. Was this actually a dude? I thought these were ladies. So they seem to have like the same kind of face that you see off of the fat elders, except theirs are not completely bandaged. Their horns almost seem more like a legitimate crown than a horn. Maybe they're like sculpted that way. Maybe that's why they're sculpted keepers. What is actually going on with this? Hold on. A man has lice. It's kind of weird looking. Does he have eyes or no? No free cam rip. And yeah, these are also wearing the ochre color thing. Oh. And going back to the whole spiral thing, we saw the more ornate depiction of that, but when we look at these ones over here, it's a little bit unclear if they're part of the actual spiral thing or if they're part of the tower and something else is going on. Like, was the tower made out of corpses itself? Is this what is powering the divine gates? When we look up at other portions of the tower, we see the corpses like kind of crumbling and breaking apart. It's really hard to see, and it's probably impossible with the 720p quality that I can offer on my live streams, unfortunately. But on these corpses over here, there's a very, very tiny bit of falling debris, which kind of reminds me of what you see with the actual Shadow Tree's debris. Although this is much more noticeable, obviously. Oh, this is better. Yeah, that's much better. And for some reason, it's only when we see these types of things that you see any signs of burning in Enir-Ilim proper at all. Which might be irrelevant. So, I don't like the idea that the tower is like literally made of these people. But if these things are only showing up where the tower has been burned, maybe there is some correlation. It's still goofy no matter what that you've got like this half-floating tower that has like depictions of people falling out of it. So I feel like no matter what you choose to think, it's a little bit awkward. Ooh, that's tempting to jump on that other platform then. Can I backstab? Not like that. So we get some golden bolts? That's weird. And fire arrows. Feels good. Okay. Bolt blessed with an incantation of the Erdtree deals powerful holy damage once used by guards of the capital. So I don't think that means like all of the holy bolts were used by guards of the capital, but it's interesting that we get that here of all places. So this is where we get our Inquisitor ashes, which tell us all we need to know about the hexes, essentially. And now we get some more of our spiral tree and horn scent iconography. But to be fair, these are on like tablets rather than actual depictions in other parts of Enir-Ilim, minus the lion warrior type things, or not like lion warriors, but the lion figurines. No! Oh my god, I tried to jump, but I was too slow. That was totally me. I'm surprised I lived. There's nothing over here except for this invisible... Nah, I'm just playing. So we get one of these lion basins, which I think we saw one of these in Enir-Ilim when we picked up the bouquet. Lady of the house speaking. Oh yeah, and I should have probably like pointed this out that we are on some wall. Holy proof pickled liver. It's kind of interesting that we point out the like jar innards having like runes or something like that in that, but we don't talk about the holy proof pickled livers. And this looks like it does have a rune on it, but I'm not sure what to make of it. Wait, so this is a new one, a Forager Brood one. Wait, maybe this is actually unironically relevant. I was just kind of skipping over it as a... Did I pick up all of the Forager Brood stuff? Do we have that on anything else? Golden Grease? Festive Grease. Guess that's it. What is this rune? All right. You didn't see the horns on the lions? It's all good. The tile of Enir-Ilim and Bellyrot sometimes features both red and blue. With their hexing research and gravebirds, you wonder if they're partially revere the twin bird. I think that seems very likely with all of the gravebirds, but it's kind of weird that they don't use ghost flame or anything like that, and they actually like practiced burials. Radon kicked Leon's ass. I totally understand that, man. I didn't even bother trying to fight him with 0 blessings. I mean, I did for a bit, but I'm like, there is no way I feel like putting up with learning this fight with as much bullcrap as he had going on. What's with all the sand? It could unironically portray like the passage of time, and that could imply that this place is like eternal or like beyond time, kind of. But that's a good question. Oh, the Night Scout gives maybe a more tangible answer with saying, the gate having petrified, possibly from use in burning fuel, could have turned the blood into sand. There's even a room with 3 sluices at the top with the sand falling in like it was once meant for liquid. You hate when your blood gets vitrified? Same. There's even Dragon Bolt grease. Godwin's knights were once here from the look of it. No clue if they were attackers or occasional patrols of the shadowy tower pre-shattering. Okay. Cute little Erdtree on the golden greases. Yeah, I was just thinking about like how that indicates the realm of shadow may have been sealed after the Godfrey time, if they were like using this type of sigil. I don't know. Can't believe I did a 0 blessing run. I made of sterner stuff. Well, the thing is, like, I enjoy exploring a lot. So whenever I see a place that looks like a boss room, I do the Himmel strategy of turning around and looking at every other place first. So I avoided coming to Bellyrot proper because, oh man, this is a giant gate. That seems like it's going to lead to something important. What's going on over this way? And so I fought the Ghost Flame Dragon. I explored the Bellyrot jail. Then I like went back this way, explored. There wasn't really much down here. So then I went over here. Oh no, there's a castle over here. Let's go this way. So then I went down here. So I eventually fought Bale as my first remembrance boss. So, yeah. Oh yeah, and so my whole point with that is, because of the way that I am, I didn't want to go and fight a boss and have that nagging feeling like the only reason why I really beat the boss the way that I did is because I just explored too much and over-leveled the area, and I didn't want to deny myself the challenge of fighting the bosses. And so I like the challenge to a degree when I think they're fair fights. And so it really didn't bother me playing without blessings, with the exception of just like some bosses being a bit too hyper aggressive. And I really enjoyed, like, I had no problems in the overworld. I really enjoyed the overworld experience with no blessings. But of course I was using like colossal weapons, which trivialize a lot of overworld encounters, even with 0 blessings. But anyway. Oh yeah, I did want to mention that as I jumped down to this tower, we're now like in the Bellyrot part of it. It doesn't match with like the rest of Enir-Ilim. It's been burned and whatnot. And we've got like goofy looking statues hanging off the side of things there. The one-handed attack looks pretty cool. All right. It reminds you of your first Oblivion run, doing everything before Kvatch. Yeah, so that's exactly how I played Oblivion in Skyrim as well. Like on my like critique of Elden Ring DLC, like gameplay wise video, I had mentioned that when I played through Oblivion, I got to like level 70, and I had 23, not Oblivion, Skyrim. When I played through Skyrim, I got to like level 70 and had like 23 shouts of power that I couldn't even use because I didn't start the actual main quest line because I explored to the point that it's problematic. And it would have been different if I could like set the blessing level at any time that I wanted to, but I couldn't. And so the way that I mitigated some fights that were too annoying for me, or if I didn't feel like beating my head against the wall more than I would just summon either like the skeletal militiaman just so I'd have an opportunity to finish casting a damn spell, or then I eventually just broke down and used the mimic and because I stopped caring. So, the way that I like to fight bosses is typically 1v1. And if a boss summons, I'm like, I take that as tacit permission for me to summon as well. It's like, oh, you want to summon help? All right, I'm a summon help too. So I summoned on a boss like Metter, which I probably shouldn't have done because she wasn't that tough. I just didn't want to deal with the finger creepers when I didn't understand her black hole attack. The pulsar attack, I guess I should call it. No, that one goes all the way back up. And I summoned against Midra because he was kind of scary, to be honest, but that was probably one of the more fair fights. I kind of regret that. But while Midra's hard to read, he actually felt like a really good, well-designed boss. I felt like the dancing lion was a good boss, except there were so many camera issues, it kind of like killed a lot of my enthusiasm about it. But I did solo that one, at least the first one. And then I was like, oh, hell no, once we got to the Deathblight one and it had basilisks. So if he's summoning, I'm summoning, you know. That's exactly how Dylan does it too. You don't like Metter's melee hitboxes, really? I didn't really have problems with its melee hitboxes. The only really bullshit move that I found with Metter was the tri-laser attack in its second phase. What a maroon. Oh, can I backstab things? I don't think I can. I think they're too big. Oh, damn. Okay, so maybe these dudes have a glaring weakness of literally walking up to them. Good to know. Although that one didn't summon anything, did he? Maybe that's part of it. With Mesmer and Bale, it felt very right to summon Hornsent and Egon. Yeah. Bro, I could not handle Bale blessingless. That's the one that actually broke me. So maybe I fought him second. Because I think I used my Mimic on him just because I wanted to be able to rot him. And like that was the big thing about playing blessingless. It felt like you needed a status effect like rot to just not make the fights last for like 20 minutes. Like it's doable, but it just felt a little bit grindy for some fights. All right. Now we get the Euphoria. One of the coolest weapons in the game. One of like the original content items where many people believed it was going to be the sword or like twin blade of abundance and decay. But that obviously did not make it into the final build of the game. And hold on here. Right, sorry about that. It says that it's a twin blade symbolizing abundance, the secret treasure of the tower. Though the blades fashioned from golden shoots are largely wilted and darkened, their luster can be restored by dealing damage to foes. However, damage dealt to those who live in death will have no such effect. Which I don't exactly know what to make of that. Maybe it's because those who live in death aren't exactly alive, and these things feed off of life to funnel their vortex, I guess. Their vortex of life, like going back to the whole Crucible imagery, but I don't know. Unique skill, Euphoria Vortex. Using the power of the vortex, violently twirl the armament, dealing multiple slashes directly ahead. The greater the restored luster of the blades, the greater the power of this skill. However, use of this skill will fully consume the blade's luster. So, if this is supposed to be Crucible aligned, it seems to be more of like the rectified current type because it's like white and black. But definitely one of the coolest ones in the game. And it sucks that you get it so late because this would be such a cool thematic weapon to use at the very beginning of the game, which I just really wish we had New Game Minus. And this would be a fun one with like the Confessor stuff because, you know, Confessors allegedly wielded twin blades. So we got this a while ago, but now we have the Inquisitor Ashes. The Inquisitor hags wield barbed candlesticks. One of the Inquisitor casts a tower hex to heal HP, while the hex of the other boosts her own attack power. Inquisitions often perplexed the minds of the uninitiated, and so seniority was viewed as an asset. Man, what did I think about this? Because I had a thought which kind of made a lot of sense about this, but maybe it didn't make sense. Okay, I think I remembered what it was, but I don't think it actually panned out. So I thought for a while that the older of the two Inquisitors was the one that did the healing hex, and then the younger one might have done like the attack power hex. But they can both use either, and I don't think it really matters. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, but wait, no, maybe it is that is it. So maybe one only casts a hex of one type. But it doesn't say which is which, and I don't know if there's like a way to visually tell them apart. He asks, are the golden shoots horns? So I don't know if I've actually looked at this one in the Japanese, the golden shoots for the Euphoria. Because the way the English sounds, I would assume that it'd be like plant life related. Yeah, no, it's definitely plant life. It's like the budding of gold. The gold buds? Wait, what the hell? Okay, yeah, I guess that really would work out the way that I was thinking. So the golden buds gain life from striking enemies because the Erdtree and the sacred trees grow off of the power of like life and death. But one thematic difference between the Euphoria and like the Erdtree Club or whatever it is, I always forget, the Great Club? I don't think I have it. I'm pretty confident I don't, as a matter of fact. Yeah. Is that the Great Club is said that it will like never break or rot or something like that. I mean, that's part of the thing, part of like gold in general. Whereas this one is wilted and darkened. So it seems like it'd be of a time where like wilting was, or like fading was part of the status quo, if that makes sense. Everything starts as a bud. But does that mean it becomes a tree? What the hell does that have to do with, like, the fingers? It's a mess, man. Did those who live in death exist prior to Godwin's death? If not, it makes sense this way. They were crafted prior to that. That is definitely a thought, but I mentioned this on the stream yesterday or the one before that, where I think that those who live in death might be a more recent addition to the Lands Between, but I think those lost in death are functionally extremely similar to those who live in death, but are the same yet different, I guess. So I don't think it would work against those lost in death, like Tibia Mariners and whatnot. Actually, maybe that's worth testing out to see if it works against the Tibia Mariner versus like a Deathrite bird versus the snail, the skull of snails. I'm going to make a note of that. I'm probably not going to test it anytime soon, but if I ever get to it, when I like look at mechanics and stuff. Twilid versus Tibia Mariner versus Deathbird. Part of the reason why I bring those enemies up is because they kind of interact a little bit differently to something like Litany of Proper Death. So it'll be interesting to see if the Euphoria functions exactly the same way, or if there are going to be any differences between like these types of enemies. And Vorb says, is Euphoria just an antiquated spelling of Euphoria? I think it's more of like the Greek way, and I think the localizers were just going along with that to keep the exotic feel of the item description, or the item name, I suppose. Because the Japanese for it is Euporia, which is, you know, almost a perfect transliteration that we get in English. Do cemetery shades count? I don't believe so. Actually, I don't know if they get super wounded by Litany of Proper Death. Because they weren't a regular enemy. I didn't even think to try testing it against them. Leon says, isn't Euphoria the name of a goddess or a nymph? I feel like there's something else going on with Euphoria that I may have seen recently, but I can't remember. And Vorb has the Greek for us. Sweet. I'm assuming. Okay. So now that we got that super cool twin blade, we can jump down, and this will bring us back to where we fought the poisoned ulcerated tree spirit. And I'm going to need to remember to check to see if that thing had like the broken neck looking like thing that the other ulcerated tree spirits had. And if they're like shadowy tree spirits. Which reminds me, I guess we could check out the river one too if we really wanted to. Right, that's what it is, Vorb. It means plenty and abundance. That's what it was. It's just a coincidence that... well, it might be a coincidence that it looks like Euphoria. Or well, so that makes sense? Yeah, okay. Because I remembered Euphoria felt wrong, but I forgot that... sorry for that yawn. That it was more or less related to the theming of the names. Like the name of the weapon was related to its theme. Oh yeah. So going back to that whole spiral imagery, there are a ton of statues in Enir-Ilim that have a horned couple, or like a couple surrounded by a spiraling horn. And I've wondered whether or not that represents lordship, divinity, and like the horn combining them into one, if that has any type of thematic relevance to Marika and Radagon's relationship. But it's just kind of a thing here that we saw the one Horn sent praying to where we picked up Spira, but other than the fact that it looks like a kind of omen horn, there's not really much information that goes along with it. So I don't really feel like fighting that horned warrior again, but I'm going to do it anyway to potentially get a drop. So I doubt this is going to work, but maybe it will. I don't know if these buffs stack, so I'm not going to try it, or which one's better. Oh, damn it. So he can kick me through the R2. I know I was panic rolling, but I didn't remember the timing for getting out of that one thing. He blink bolted me. What a jerk. That was a bad move. Screw you, guy. And he gives me no item. Oh well. Let's look at the sun. No, okay, so it must have been the positioning, I guess. Oh no, it is there. Oh, maybe I was looking in the wrong spot before. Oh no, it's the storm! The storm is what reveals the sun. Oh, it just turned to night. Well, maybe it's a coincidence, maybe it's the storm. Wouldn't it be wild if the sun showed up there, like at late night? Oh yeah, so this is the statue that I was talking about, or one of them, rather. Oh, that's cute that they've got like a little staircase going out to it. So, as far as the little horned thing goes, it kind of reminds me of a tapeworm. And I remember during that meta fight how I was like, oh my god, like it looks like worms are coming out of this. And how on one of the previous streams when we went to Fair Missoula, I was remarking how the worms that come out of the worm faces are pretty much the exact same stuff that comes out of Metter. Does that mean that the two fingers are kind of like these tapeworm looking like things in their very infancy and then they grow to be bigger? Are the tapeworms covering the horned statues supposed to be the two fingers? Does that tie into divinity? I don't know, but carved words coalesce. Quote, I abandon here all my fears. Which you might need to face Radon, to be fair there. Greeks really said money equals happiness? Okay. Another amazing weapon that when we get it, it sucks in comparison. Oh, does it suck in comparison at this point in the game? Well, I think the only reason why you might think that it sucks is because pretty much the only thing left you have to face are these divine, like, beast warriors and Radon. So, yeah, the pickings are slim in terms of, like, the types of enemies you fight. But I don't think that means, like, the weapon itself sucks. But I get what you're saying, though. And yes, bro, from the moon, it is always going to be daytime here, even at night, as we see right now. I was just excited to see the sun, despite everything. It's great when it's fully leveled. You basically just got to build it for charge R2s and multi-hits, and or the weapon skill damage and holy damage. Makes sense. But okay, everybody, that'll be it for tonight's stream. Definitely took me a bit longer to go through this section of the game than I was expecting, but you know, we were actually doing a lot of lore discussions, which is perfectly fine. So we'll be picking things up again tomorrow at the same time of 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So hopefully we'll catch you on the next one. So until then, take care, stay safe. That's Protagonist out.